Bless the Lord, the Blessed One. Blessed is the Lord, the Blessed One, for all eternity. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who has selected us from all the peoples and has given us his Torah. Blessed are you, O Lord, giver of the Torah. All right, so the reading today will be in Exodus chapter 20. It's covering the Ten Commandments. Exodus chapter 20. And God spoke all these words, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an idol in the form of anything in heaven above, or on the earth beneath, or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sins of the fathers to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commands. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God, for the Lord will not hold anyone guiltless who misuses his name. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you nor your sons or daughters, nor your manservant or maidservant, nor your animals, nor the alien within your gates. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, but he rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. Honor your father and mother, so that you may live long in the land the Lord your God is giving you. You shall not murder, you shall not commit adultery, and you shall not steal. You shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, or his manservant or maidservant, his ox, donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. When the people saw the thunder and lightning and heard the trumpet and saw the mountain in smoke, they trembled with fear. They stayed at a distance and said to Moses, Speak to us yourself, and we will listen, but do not have God speak to us, or we will die. Moses said to the people, Do not be afraid. God has come to test you, so that the fear of God will be with you to keep you from sinning. The people remained at a distance while Moses approached the thick darkness where God was. Then the Lord said to Moses, Tell the Israelites this, You have seen yourselves that I have spoken to you from heaven. Do not make any gods to be alongside me. Do not make for yourselves gods of silver or gods of gold. Make an altar of earth for me and sacrifice on it your burnt offerings and fellowship offerings, your sheep and goats and your cattle. Wherever I cause my name to be honored, I will come to you and bless you. If you make an altar of stone for me, do not build it with dressed stones, for you will defile it if you use a tool on it. And do not go up to my altar on steps, lest your nakedness be exposed on it. Have the blessing after the reading. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who gave us the Torah through his servant Moses, and the realization of grace and truth through his servant Yeshua, our Master and Messiah. Blessed are you, O Lord, giver of the Torah, grace and truth. I wanted to read out of John also, chapter 1, first 5 verses. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, but the darkness has not understood it. Okay, thank you for standing. I guess after reading this, I didn't have anything put together here, but so one thing I was thinking about while I was reading this, before before this time, I just had the Torah portion last week, and it was about the Israelites, coming out of Egypt and wandering around in the desert. And it's interesting to think about, even though we know that, part of God's law had already been established, the Sabbath. We see that at the very beginning of Genesis, that God established a Sabbath, and people knew about it. Even with Noah, we know that there was some form of knowledge about clean and unclean animals. So, we know that some things people just knew about, and I'm not sure how they did, but we just know it from the Word. But, from a people who had just been enslaved for, I think it was somewhere around 400 years in Egypt, in a land that was, pagan, that did not serve God or keep His laws and feast days, if you will. This is basically a people after generation. I'm sure some of that got lost, because we know that the Sabbath to them was new to them. When they were picking manna, God said, pick twice as much on Friday, therefore you don't have to go out and pick any. Well, of course, it says that some of them, they still tried to do it. They went out, they still picked manna, and it got wormy, and it was junk. So, thinking about, the Israelites wandering through the desert, that's before, this time where God gave them the law. I'm sure, they were unfamiliar with it. At least they were unfamiliar with it, if not even knowing about it. And I kind of see that as, here God gives them the law, and, I can kind of relate that to, if before someone is saved, the law, they wander. The law it's a map. I've heard that somebody say that, and I think that's an excellent analogy, if you will, that, God's law, with all of its, its directions and all that, whatever you want to call it, it can be a map for us. Before we were saved, we were wandering. We had no guidance. And I kind of see that as the people in the wilderness. They, without God's law, yes, God was still leading them, but as far as how they were to live their lives, they had no guidance yet. And it doesn't mean that they won't mess up, because we know even after this point they still stumbled and fell. We know that because I just read at the end of 20, it says, "Don't make for yourself any golden images." They messed up on that one pretty early. So it's not about not messing up, but it's just an overall, here's a map that God has laid out for you. Here's your highways, here's your open roads. This is what's going to make your life easier, and not to mention just the fact that you love God. You want to do what He tells you to do, just like with a child and the parent. So anyhow, that's what I just kind of got out of this. So thank you.